Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey. I want to thank you for joining me for this video cast. Back in the year 1914, an adventurer and explorer by the name of Ernest Shackleton took a crew of 28 men on his ship, the Endurance, to go down to Antarctica. His goal was to be the first to actually walk across the South Pole. And so he took this crew down to Antarctica. Now, I won't get into the extent of the whole story, although it's one that is definitely worth researching and seeing. There's a great book called The Endurance that documents this experience they had. But when they got down to Antarctica, their ship was frozen in the ice. The ice expanded, eventually crushing the ship. And the 28 men were stranded in Antarctica for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, some heroic adventures that they had, some of them going in a small lifeboat across the ocean to a small island in order to get rescued. They never lost any of the 28 people. They all came back alive. How did this happen? Well, one of the main things, and again, this is a very involved story and I do encourage you to look into it, but one of the main thing is that Shackleton never allowed himself or any of his men to look at this as just the problem, to examine everything that's going wrong. He had one desire and one desire only, and that is, what's the answer? What do I need to do to survive? What do we need to do to be rescued? And by always focusing on finding the answer instead of looking at how big the problem was, they were able to survive, and not only survive, but also come to a rescue. It was an amazing, amazing story. But it's a story that you can see repeated throughout history. I mean, this is one of the reasons I really do love studying history, is all of the times that people have been confronted by horrific situations, things that the average person just doesn't face. I mean, come on. There are times that we won't leave the house because it's raining. We get upset because there's too much snow, or it's too cold, it's too hot, whatever. I mean, we look at situations that, or we look at a house full of food and say there's nothing to eat. A television with 182 different channels and we complain that there's nothing to watch. And yet there are people who their very lives are at stake, and they survive those things. Why is that? That's because when you really have to deal with a situation, people who have the courage, the stamina, the ability to survive, and it has nothing to do with their skill sets, it has nothing to do with their education, their wealth, their experience. It has everything to do with the fact that they stop looking at the problem and start examining the answers. Because there is always an answer. Always. Even in our daily life, with the simple things that we do. And I don't care how complicated your life may seem, or how difficult things may seem at times. Get out of your own world. Get out of that. Look, study history, read biographies, look at the lives of some of these heroic people, and find out just how difficult things can be. And then you'll start knowing that if you look for the answer rather than focusing on the problem, you too can survive. Not only survive, you can make it through. You can make it to the place where everything comes about as it should. You see, it doesn't mean that we're going to escape tragedy in our life. We all experience difficult times. We all experience tragedy and loss and failure. but it is a person who is focused on the answers to those things rather than the problems themselves that enjoy life, that have those victories, that can look at situations and know that they are conquerors, they're not victims. Our life, with all the petty things that we deal with all the time, that's where victim mentality comes from. It doesn't come from major difficulties. It comes from a selfish inconvenience that we face. Then we feel like we're victims and oh, we should be taken care of and people should give us things and, we should be considered and dealt with delicately. That's nonsense. It's not good for you. It's not good for the world around you. We all face difficulties. We all have difficult times. But there's an answer to those who will look for it, who are not victims, who will not give in to being a victim, but instead they will recognize themselves as a victor, as a conqueror of all these difficulties that go on in their life. It's time to put away the selfish, petty, childish whining that we do and start looking at some true answers to life's difficulties. It takes courage. It takes the ability to face reality, but you can do it. You were created to do it. You have everything it takes to overcome. Now, overcome. And you'll find that your greatest tools when you do that are when you can be your best. When you love God, you have good manners, you discover the unknown, and then you change your world. Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey again. I want to thank you for spending time watching the video cast. I do hope that these add value to you, that they encourage you, that they give you principles and information that you can use in your everyday life. That's our purpose for being here. The Growth Center was designed and created in order to help you to become the very best that you were created to be, to fulfill all of those dreams and desires that you've had, to accomplish your goals and your dreams. Now, I also want to encourage you to get other material besides this video cast, which, by the way, if right below here, you're going to see a little button that's called subscribe. I do hope that you subscribe to this video cast so that regularly when we put these up, you'll be notified and you can watch them. But I also want you to go over to the website, which is at www.johnpatrickhickey.com. There you're going to find books and other materials to help you to grow and to continue to pursue those goals. Again, that's www.johnpatrickhickey.com. And thank you again for joining us.